vítam v Novej Cvernovke Octavia Kuleša, ktorý nám predniesie svoju prezentáciu o umelej inteligencii a vydávaní kníh. Octavio, welcome.
Thank you, Slavo. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here in Bratislava. It's my first time here. So thank you very much. And well, we have a special guest who likes artificial intelligence. And so the title of my presentation today, of this conversation, is From Paper to Algorithms: How Artificial Intelligence is Reshaping the Publishing Industry. So I'm a publisher, I'm a digital publisher. I am originally from Argentina, but I'm based more in Turin, in Italy right now. And I also work as a researcher in topics related to digital culture and especially how artificial intelligence is reshaping the cultural world. So let me start with an image. This image illustrates, in a way, the situation we are living through right now. You can see a book, an open book below, a typical book. And above the book, we can see a sort of cloud of mysterious and magical cloud of, let's say, maybe algorithms, calculations, something artificial but very intelligent. And this relationship between the book sector and artificial intelligence is quite complex right now, because we don't know if the book will suddenly close and stop the conversation with the tech world, or if it will stay open. And in the meantime, what will the tech world and the AI, artificial intelligence world, will do? Is the AI sector trying to understand better how publishing works? Is it trying to establish a dialogue with publishers, booksellers, with writers? Or is it rather trying to extract information, extract data from books in order to use that data in other industries? Well, difficult to say, but in any case, let me tell you that this image was created with artificial intelligence. I created it a couple of days ago with a very simple tool that I guess you may be familiar with more and more. We will see this later. So this is the plan I propose for the presentation today. It's about half an hour. So firstly, I would like to say a few things about the digital transformation of the publishing industry. So what do we mean by the digital transformation? Where are we now, and where does this new galaxy fits into, like the galaxy of artificial intelligence? Then what is exactly artificial intelligence today? How is AI applied to publishing? And what does it mean, what does it imply in terms of opportunities and challenges? Because there are many advantages, like more productivity and more inspiration for writers, etc. But the challenges and the threats are considerable. And finally, it will be interesting to think about the future of the industry, the publishing industry, and have a discussion in group. So, the digital transformation of the publishing industry. As I mentioned before, the title of the presentation is From Paper to Algorithms. But actually, the technological changes in the publishing industry go back hundreds of years before the book as we know it in paper format. Actually, 2,000 years ago, people in Egypt, in Greece, in the Roman world, in ancient Roman world, used to read in scrolls made of papyrus. So, well, welcome. So, as long as he doesn't bite me, it's fine. But so, the scroll is a very peculiar artifact because it has no pages. You have to scroll, and you can find sections, but the notion of page comes later with the codex. From the 3rd century AD, we can witness the rise of the codex. So these are artifacts, devices, let's say, more similar to our books because they have a binding, not like the scroll, but in this case they have a binding, but they are made of parchment. Centuries later, this is one example of one of the first books printed with Gutenberg's machine in the age of the incunabula. So the 50 years between the introduction of the printing press in Europe by Gutenberg and the end of the 15th century, those 50 years is the age of the incunabula. So books that were printed, but that had some details illustrated by hand. So they imitated some aspects of the codex. And centuries later, again, the printed book as we know it. And in my view, it's important to see this evolution to show that it's not linear. It's not that the book appeared like that from overnight, but it had a technological evolution behind. And that the printed book, as we know it, is not a uniform device, but rather it's a plurality of formats, because we can have a hardcover book, we can have a paperback copy, we can have a pocket book printed in black and white or printed in color. So there is a lot of variety in the format. Then in the late 90s, this is a device, the Rocket ebook, 1998, one of the first dedicated devices that people used to reading. In order to read, you have these devices in the late 90s that had some autonomy, but they had light, it was straining for the eyes, so those were not the best devices, and we had to wait 10 years until the arrival of the Kindle, the first Kindle device, which is quite ugly as well, not as the current Kindle devices and other models in the market, because it had an analog keyboard, it's very heavy, but anyway, it had, as you know, this electronic ink, which was very useful in order not to strain your eyes. And now, actually what we have now is, if you know, Marshall McLuhan used to say that, used to speak about the Gutenberg galaxy. And now we have a digital universe, so something much bigger that encompasses Gutenberg galaxy and other galaxies, so other digital galaxies in this case, because the Kindle or e-reading devices are one part of the landscape, but we also have mobile phones. Mobile phones are a super efficient device for reading. We have audiobooks. We have print on demand. This is a digital technology. Even if the output is a printed copy, it's a digital technology. And we have social media for engagement, for exchanging to exchange with the audience, etc. So this is a very dynamic and complex universe. And the latest galaxy, and now I'm entering into the topic of today, it's artificial intelligence. And actually, I'm not sure, after reading the news in the last weeks, if this is a galaxy or if it's a black hole for the industry. So we will see. So let's move on to this new galaxy. What do we mean by artificial intelligence? Well, it's quite a big discussion how to define this expression, but let's say that just to begin with, let's note that artificial means made with art. So it's an intelligence that has been made with a technique, some sophistication with art. And one definition I like is one that resorts to the notion of system. So let's avoid, in general, talking about AI, like as if it was, you know, Terminator or a self-conscious machine that will destroy the world as a very proponents of AI are saying today, because I think it's a very misleading approach. Actually, in my view, the best approach is to say AI systems, because these are systems, tools created by humans with art. So, but tools that can process vast amounts of data and that have a sort of intelligence that resembles the intelligence of the animals in some specific activities or some specific tasks, like reasoning, learning, predictions, planning, and so on. So it's not a real intelligence, it's not a creature, it's not a living thing, it's just a set of systems, of tools that mimic the cognitive capacity of the human beings and also the animals. Because when our friend, the dog here, sees his or her, a person that the dog knows, the dog will recognize that person. So the dog is using some neural networks as we do. So this is not only human intelligence, it's also animal intelligence. It's the brain that these systems mimic. And the subset of artificial intelligence that is being used more and more is machine learning. So, as I mentioned before, we feed the machines with vast amounts of data. We train them with data, with big data, so that the machine can then make a prediction or execute an action or recognize a pattern, etc. And within machine learning, we have deep learning. It's what I mentioned before, the use of neural networks, artificial neural networks to perform these tasks. So artificial intelligence is the big group. Then we have machine learning, inside deep learning, and inside deep learning we have this sub-variant, which is generative AI, generative artificial intelligence, which is one of the most powerful tools that have ever been invented. So I'm sure that you heard about ChatGPT. So I would like to ask you, and this is important, so how many of you know about ChatGPT? Everyone. So how many of you have actually used ChatGPT? So less than half probably. And how many of you have paid for the premium version of ChatGPT? 1, okay, 2, which is extremely efficient as a tool. It's amazing. So ChatGPT is a large language model developed by OpenAI, an organization in the US. And so the idea is the same as in any type of deep learning system. You feed the machine with vast amounts of text, all sorts of text, like text from Wikipedia, from Reddit, from anything you can grab. You feed the machine and then you have an outcome. The idea of large language models is that it's a pretty new technology, is that their ability is to predict the next word in a sequence of words. So this is why they can create so much content. Another type of, another example of generative AI is, DALL-E. How many of you have heard about DALL-E? Well, it's not a language model. It's been also developed by OpenAI, but it's an image generation system. So you introduce a prompt, just like in GPT, in ChatGPT, and then you get an image as a result. And the images are getting better and better. I don't really like DALL-E so much. I prefer other tools. But I think OpenAI is working on new iterations of the program for the future that will become better and better. So how can we use these tools in publishing? So let's say that the application of AI tools in publishing is not new. if we think of deep learning in general, so not necessarily generative AI, I will mention a few tasks that have been used in the last 5 or 10 years with great success. One is personalized recommendations. Whenever you visit a website, for example, an e-commerce website, and the website gives you recommendations, those recommendations are prepared by algorithms, and those algorithms run with artificial intelligence. So if you like this, you will like that, and so on. This is AI. Another type of application is predictive analysis. In those very companies, the teams working in selling, they can predict in some cases with high accuracy what the customers will effectively purchase later. So predictions in sales and other cases. Plagiarism detection. These systems work with AI. Price optimization. This is very common when you go to eDreams and Booking and sites selling flights or hotel rooms. The prices you see as a customer are not the same prices another person can see, and this is also regulated by AI systems. The conversion from text to audio is also performed with AI, with neural networks. And finally, translation. So Google Translate and DeepL became super efficient, and since I would say 2017, 2016, maybe you have noticed that because they started to use new AI systems, especially neural networks, so deep learning for the translation of texts. Before that, the translation was quite, not really perfect, let's say. Now it's not perfect either, but it's becoming really, really good. And specifically in the case of generative AI, what are the applications of these tools in publishing? Or what could be the future applications? If we think of writers, brainstorming is a key application of generative AI. Suppose, you have to break this syndrome of the blank page. This is it's a trauma for writers, always. Like, where can I start? What is the topic of my next novel or my next short story? I need some ideas. I need inspiration. So you can work with ChatGPT or other language models to get, for example, a bullet point list about a specific topic. That doesn't mean that ChatGPT will write the text for you, but it will give you a good list of items, of topics, and it will give you a lot of inspiration. Another way to use generative AI in publishing and in writing specifically is related to the first case, is scene building. So suppose you have written your novel, you have written your short story, but you don't like a specific passage or scene. You can ask the machine to rewrite it and rephrase specific parts, and it will give you different variants. Summarization, maybe you have tried it. It's super good. It's not perfect, but it's really, really good. You can feed ChatGPT with 2 pages, or up to 3 pages right now. This is more or less the maximum. And ChatGPT is able to summarize the paragraph in one paragraph, the passage in one paragraph or in one sentence. Sentiment analysis. Suppose you are a publisher and you receive dozens of texts to publish every week. And you need to know, because for your next series of short stories about joy, the feeling of joy, you need to know if these texts are related to joy or to sorrow or to any other feeling. you can use these tools to analyze the text en masse, and then have a first selection of the text that you will likely publish. So the machine will tell you, well, these are dealing with very sad feelings, it's not for your series. And then, of course, you have to supervise this, but it can work very well. Personalization of stories. Let's say you want to write a new version of the Odyssey, but where the Penelope dies before Ulysses arrives in Ithaca. He arrives home. Well, you can ask the machine, and the machine will give you a new version or many different versions. Recommendations for choosing the title of the book. This is also a typical problem of a publisher. You know, the writer, they can send us the text, the original text, and the title is horrible, because usually the title is very dull, too complicated, and it's a good subtitle rather than a good title. So we can ask the machine to get recommendations for the title. And I tried it, and it works quite well. Keywords. So give me the keywords of this book, of this introduction, whatever. This will be very helpful for my metadata, for example, for my website or for distribution. Social networks. ChatGPT, give me 5 emojis for this tweet about this book. It's a long and very tiring work to find emojis for any person working in social media. And ChatGPT can find you the right emoji for this book and for this tweet. I'm not selling ChatGPT, but I am just underlying the advantages of these systems. I can tell you that there will be more systems in the future, even more powerful. There is one I am trying to get access to, which is Claude by Anthropic. It can analyze not just 3 or 4 pages as ChatGPT, but it can analyze at once more or less 200 pages of a book. So it's a big leap. Translation, you can also translate with large language models. You can extract data. Imagine you're working in publishing or in news media. Suppose you work for a newspaper and you need to quickly extract data from the elections that took place last weekend. You need quickly to know which members of the parliament were elected, with what was a percentage of votes in each case. So you have a long text delivered by the government, but you need to quickly extract the data. So language models will do that for you very, very fast. Text classification. Whenever you use a platform to distribute your ebooks, for example, you will need to choose the right classification, the right category for the book in different standards. You can use, BZAC or BIC or Thema or other standards. Well, ChatGPT, tell me what is the best subject heading or category or classification for this book. And it will give you some suggestions. So you will save a lot of time in this task. And finally, but very important, the generation of images for the cover or the interior of the book. You can combine ChatGPT with DALL-E or other image generation systems. Suppose you have this book and you have been trying to find the right image, you don't find it, and then you can feed the machine with the text of the book and ask the machine, okay, now give me 5 or 10 ideas for the cover, the image of the cover. It will give you different prompts, and then you copy and paste those prompts into DALL-E or Stable Diffusion or other generative systems to generate images, and the results are super good in many cases. Then you will have to iterate and find variants, but well, so these are the tools, the power of these tools. And as we can see, there are many opportunities for us working in publishing or writing. For writers, well, this possibility to have access to a tool that gives you brainstorming, gives you inspiration, it leads to the notion of the augmented writer, like a person who writes but who has access to a way who is capable of augmenting their power in thousands of times. These tools also lower the barriers to entry. Why? Because now you can be a writer without any experience. As the same in music, for example. Now with music generated with AI, you can become a musician and you can create a symphony without any knowledge of composition, arrangement, and etc. So this is why many people speak of the democratization of creation and creativity. Well, it's more complicated than that. We will see later in the challenges. But in any case, it's true that there are lower barriers to entry if you want to become a writer with these tools. For publishers, these tools represent a clear productivity leap. So a leap in terms of efficiency. You can do much more with much less. Imagine that you needed to summarize, you needed to extract data or find the right classification for the book. Well, instead of spending 4 hours or 2 hours for these tasks, you can spend only 5 minutes now or less. Creation of new jobs, especially highly qualified jobs. Now everyone is talking about this new job. It's a big hype, prompt engineer. So people that have become quite familiar with large language models or with image generation systems and know what type of prompt they should use in each case. So it's like understanding the psychology of these machines, but there is no psychology here. It's just a tool, as I said, but it's understanding how they work. So this is a new field, prompt engineers. So new jobs. And for the public, because we have seen the advantages for the writers, for publishers, and for the public, these tools will lead to an explosion of the number of titles available to them. Because now, if you are a writer, you can publish not just one book per semester. You can write one book per week, probably. So there will be millions and probably billions of new books entering the market very soon. So these are the opportunities, and I'm sure that you are already thinking about the problems. And let's move on to that, because there are many, many risks and threats here. So first, it's true that anyone without any knowledge in writing can become a writer, but you still need to master the tool. You need to have the technical knowledge. You need to open an account in ChatGPT. You need to know how to talk with the machine and etc. to know which prompts to use in each case. So, but in the market right now, there is a lack of technical knowledge. There is a lack of data, and this is very serious for those willing to not only to use existing services such as ChatGPT, but also for those willing to create or to develop their own systems, because you can also develop your own language system, your own language model. It's expensive, it's complicated, but it's doable, but you need data to feed the machine, otherwise it won't work. And the data in general is in the hands of large platforms. These are not freely available data or easy to get. It's true that there will be new jobs being created, but I am also sure that there will be a massive loss of the so-called traditional jobs. And this can be catastrophic because, translators, this is a big challenge for them, especially for translators who are not used to employing these type of tools. So proofreaders, in maybe next year, it will be quite easy to proofread a whole book in many languages with just a simple click. So what will proofreaders do? Designers, illustrators. So it's massive. And then it's so easy to create new content that here the BBC and many other people ask whether AI will flood the internet, will flood social media with fake accounts, with fake news, etc. It's happening already. The problem of biases. When you use any AI system, you will run into this type of problems. So maybe if we have the time later, we can see a few examples. But as long as you use machine learning, you have to feed the machine with data, and the data you have is always limited. You cannot have all the data of the universe. So it's a partial sample of the data available in the universe, so it will be always biased. This is why if you are building, imagine your own ChatGPT, and you feed the machine with books from the 19th century to create a new text, well, I'm sure that the new text you will create will be extremely biased against specific groups. So there will be racism, there will be gender bias, and so on, because of the sample you have used to feed the machine. And this is a headache for lawyers, because who is the right holder when someone creates a book using AI? If I go to ChatGPT and start creating a short story, so this is my short story, 3 pages. Who is the owner of the copyright there? Who will? Is it ChatGPT? No, they say no. You can use it. It's yours. But is it me? Exactly. Also, if you fed the system with contemporary novels, so there is also a problem there, because you also have a copyright problem with the input. So it's a big headache right now. There is not simple answers. And the fact that large platforms, in the example I gave of price optimization or any other algorithmic recommendation, they do it because they know our tastes. So they know how we behave. They know, Amazon knows what type of books I like, and Spotify knows the music I like. So one day, and maybe very soon, they will be able to create content for us as an individual. So I will be having access maybe to a song that was created for me. And this is cool, someone will say, from the startup world, but what does it imply in terms of our common culture? Because everyone will start moving within their own bubble. So it's a perfect bubble. Since 2010 with Eli Pariser, the notion of filter bubble became quite trendy. Filter bubbles. It's bubbles, but around specific communities. Whenever you use social media, especially Twitter. But now it's not a filter bubble for a community. It's a perfect individual bubble. And disparities among languages. It's good, as in my case, to speak Spanish, because as you can see in the graph here, Spanish is one of the most spoken languages in the world. More than 600 million people have Spanish as their mother tongue, or Chinese, English, Hindi, Arabic, Portuguese, Bengali, Russian, and then you go Turkish, Italian. So who do you think the large platforms and AI developers will pay more attention to whenever they create a new AI system? It's to the big languages. And it's a problem. As far as I know, Slovak is spoken by over 5 million people. And this is in this age of AI, many things should be done to avoid being marginalized by the large platforms, because they will invest more in the big groups. So this is a challenge for all the rest of the languages. And if we think of the, the digital gap, this was a big debate in the 2000s and 2010 decade. We know that the world has many imbalances in terms of infrastructure, of connectivity, of access to devices. And the problem now is that not only do we have a digital gap, but with AI, we will have a creative gap, which is totally unprecedented. So a person having access to ChatGPT in the premium version and to a whole set of tools in generative AI will be probably will become much more creative than a person who has no access to these tools. It's exponential. And this creative gap can be irreversible. New monopolies are being created. This is very clear. Not just the Google, Amazon, and Facebook, and etc., but newcomers from the AI world. So, within this context of where we have big opportunities and big challenges, it will be interesting to ask ourselves what the future will be like and what can we do in this scenario. So it's clear that AI and the investment, the development, the implementation of AI systems in the future will simply accelerate. This is very clear. And AI will have an increasing impact on the publishing industry at all levels. So in all the links of the chain, so writers, publishers, booksellers, distributors, etc., even the public, as we saw. The key, of course, will be to see how we can leverage the opportunities, so take the advantages and mitigate the challenges. So try to walk in this middle path in the center. This is very complicated. In any case, I think it's key that all stakeholders, all the players within the publishing industry get more training and awareness about what is going on. So this is an extremely powerful tool. This is not a new hype. It will change the industry as we know it. And it's time we start working more collaboratively with people from the tech industry, so with AI actors. The AI players are not only big corporations only, it's also startups, small and medium-sized enterprises, very innovative, and we can work with them and build new solutions even. And in my view, we should also become more active in the national AI plans. Almost every country now on Earth is developing their national strategy on artificial intelligence. So how we will invest money in AI for education, for health, for transportation, and so on. But in general, culture is never mentioned in those plans. Publishing is not mentioned in those plans. So culture is something nice to have, but they don't appear in the national strategies of artificial intelligence everywhere. So this is the case in Europe, in North America, in Latin America, in Africa, in Asia, everywhere. Culture is absent in those plans. So we should have a more active voice, so in order to make sure that culture and especially publishing has a role and plays a role in the future, and especially in these plans. And finally, I would like to invite you to have a look at this text. It's the recommendation on the ethics of artificial intelligence. It was adopted by unanimity by all the member states of UNESCO in 2021, by the end of 2021, so a year and a half ago. It's a very comprehensive guide for countries or for the public sector, but also for the private sector in terms of what principles, what values we can have whenever we work with AI and what strategies we can implement. So I had the opportunity and the immense fortune to be part of the team that worked on the first draft of the document. It was a really, really fascinating and demanding job 2 years ago. And now 3 years ago, actually, it lasted 1 year, together with people from China, India, Mexico, and many other countries. So the text is the only text on a global scale that includes culture as a key sector. So I invite you to read the text and have a look, and I hope it can give us all more ideas, especially whenever we have to deal with the public sector and their AI plans for the future. So that's it. Thank you very much, and looking forward to a conversation with all of you. Thank you.
You talked about many risks and also benefits. I have one layman's question. What do you think, what of these risks or benefits will fully works first?
So you mean in terms of the priorities of the work in the future?
Yeah.
Oof, it's difficult because it's such a comprehensive tool that it's not easy to work on only on a partial segment. But I would say it's, first of all, we have to work on training. So to get more training, everyone. So no one can say, I have nothing to do with AI, I am not a tech person. And if we are in publishing, if we are working in publishing, we are all tech people. So Gutenberg was a tech geek. So he was a geek. And he would be working with AI today, I guess, if he was alive. So training, experimentation, and networking with AI, people from the AI world, I think this is the first step. And not to be scared by trying and trying and trying. And also, it's important to have some objectives in your specific position. So I guess most of you are publishers, right? So if you work in a specific segment, let's say children's or psychology, nonfiction or whatever, try to think of all these tools, what you can apply and start from today working. And I would say, again, I don't want to sell ChatGPT, but the premium version of ChatGPT is like a human being compared to an ape in the free version. So the free version makes a lot of mistakes and hallucinates. You know, the hallucination of language models is a very well-known topic, because as they are fed with data, they have no clue about what is the world or what is going on outside. So they can produce super coherent text, but totally meaningless or totally incorrect. Maybe you've heard about this lawyer a week ago in the US that he used ChatGPT, probably the free version, I guess, to write an answer in a specific case he was working on. And the judge read the answer, and the lawyers from the other side read the answer. They said, but this is like the text was making some mentions of previous cases, similar, but that didn't exist at all. So this lawyer got a sanction. He will have to pay a fine, and it's very serious. And he was a victim of the hallucination of ChatGPT and language models in general. I guess the premium version is less like that, but it still hallucinates. It still has a few typos. It's not perfect, but the amount of money these companies are pouring in AI is so massive that it will become better and better and better. So try not to be in denial. That's my first advice. So avoid denial, even if you don't like coding, or don't worry, you don't need coding. It's just a natural language. And this is the one of the most fascinating parts, is that I studied philosophy, and especially I graduated with a thesis in ancient philosophy. So I studied ancient Greek and Latin, and everyone was saying, you are doomed. Like in this tech world, what is Greek useful for? What you won't use it. And now it's like the revenge of the classicists, because you will speak to the machines using natural language. So the better you master the language, our normal language, the better the machine will understand you. And programmers now are in a big crisis, because these programs can write code. So it's now the revenge of humanities. So don't give up. So this is my advice.
Thank you very much. Nech sa páči. Hneď prvá otázka.
Maybe I have a very specific question, because 2 weeks ago I was approached by my 2 friends who are translators, and I also come from the similar small language as Slovak, so it's Czech language, and they told me they were approached by the companies. I exactly don't remember which ones, but they were trying to hire them to help the artificial intelligence to improve translation. So this is the question of ethics, because they answered me, yeah, we don't want to do it because we don't want to lose the job later. They were offered the money to do it, but it was nothing like big. But still they were hesitating. And the second part of it is that they said, okay, if we don't accept this, there will be always some students who would be hired. So what is better, if we really let ourselves hired for this work, or we let it do it to people with less, for example, knowledge in translation? And what is better for the future? Or there may be kind of anarchist organization who will even make a mess in translations. They will be hired, but they will do wrong translations to have in the future to keep their job as translation, maybe. So this is a little bit punk question, but there's a question of ethics, probably.
Yeah, it's very difficult to answer, because it's true that your colleagues will say, if we don't work for this company, somebody else will work, as you said. But the key in this technology is that it's fed with human creativity. So we can see it as a double-edged sword. So it's super useful because you can create, wow. But then you have below the surface, what you have is centuries of human creativity that has been extracted like blood, like our creative blood has been extracted to feed these machines. And so it's very tough, like and I don't think it's possible to change easily unless we have unless there is a big lobby with governments, and the recommendation of UNESCO mentions clearly that more should be done in terms of making sure who is the owner of the creations. So, because actually a large language model, it's a sort of privatization of language and of previous creations. So we really need to discuss this in depth, and with specialists, with a lot of people that know many things about copyright and intellectual property in general. I read recently that Japan said they will promote a pro-innovation approach in these fields, which means that, as far as I understood, because I read it today, they won't be paying much attention to who the rights owners are of the input. The UK is going in the same direction, I guess. The US probably as well. So the big superpowers in AI are moving very fast in that direction. So saying, we want innovation, we want to generate new images and texts with these tools, and we don't care much about the people that created the works of art that fed the machines. Is it now impossible to overcome? I don't think it's impossible, but at most we should go to a situation where the owners could be paid for every time a new text or image is generated. But for that you need a very complicated system, probably working with blockchain, and there is not such a registry of who the owners are, the rights holders. So it's right now there is not a simple answer, but it's definitely a big issue.
Second moderator. No, I mean, thank you for the presentation. It was a bit scary for me, to be honest. But also it's a question for me, like, why should I be scary if it's like, because it's attacking, like we are saying, it's attacking creativity. But what about, how deep is the creativity if I'm scared if something is gonna imitate? I guess I hope still I have a hope in human creativity, which is something beyond just imitating and making excerpts and summarize and stuff, and it could go beyond. I'm not sure if you would fit up this AI in the 17th century paintings, if it would come to the Picasso. That's my point. And so this is like just I'm not sure, it's not question, but just assuring myself. And the question is maybe about regulation. What do you think? Because there's also the big topic about regulations, and it was funny that like Elon Musk wants to regulate. Yeah, it was really a funny title, I guess. But I think it's something about it. About regulating something which we don't know about, and one of the most like scary interview I've seen was with the CEO of this OpenAI, and when the moderator asked him like, "Do you know what it can do?" and I see the uncertainty of his answers. He's not actually sure like where it can go. So yeah, this is the question.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I am also very scared when I listen to Elon Musk or Sam Altman from OpenAI to say we need regulation, because I don't trust them much. Whenever you have someone who has a super canon and he says regulate the canon, what is going on? You have the canon. Why are you asking for regulation? And in my opinion, it's because it's a trick they are playing, because this is only a perception, a personal perception, but imagine if I say, watch it, careful, there, but actually it's just to hide something that is there. So this is why I'm saying, watch it there. And whenever they say we should regulate AI, they say it's because they can become, instead of AI, AGI, so artificial general intelligence, and it will destroy us. It's the end of the human species. This is not the problem. This is not So this is why it's important to always say AI systems. These machines are not self-conscious. They are inert. They are simple tools. The problem is not the machine, the problem is the person. I'm much more scared about the person than by any machine. So this is probably why they are insisting with regulation, but in things that are not very important. So if we want to regulate this in a democratic way, I think we should pay attention to who the rights holders are, and also what is going on in terms of biases, what is happening in terms of from the environmental point of view, because these systems use a lot of energy. It's not very friendly towards our ecosystem, and many other topics that are not discussed by the big tech companies.
I'm sorry. If you think the capitalist system is the best where it should actually be developed, because the capitalist system, if you think it's the best, I mean, because I guess the only thing they are right now thinking about, like, how to earn is, and the premium is already here, and you were talking about the great, I think this it's gonna be a gap, like a huge gap. It's like even bigger. So if it shouldn't be just given to us, let's say.
Yeah, the thing is that in order to create these tools, you need to put a lot of money, and then nobody will like to give us this for free. And it's this is the complexity of the issue, because OpenAI is losing money every day with ChatGPT. So you need the backup of Microsoft. They use Microsoft Cloud for this. Imagine OpenAI is not just a small machine. It's hundreds of thousands of servers that are interconnected. So this is a massive amount of money, and they are putting money in to get money out. So this is, and there are some interesting models, open source and free to use, but you will still need computing power. So you can download some transformers models, and then you can personalize and tailor them, but you will need a lot of knowledge and investment in terms of computing power. But this is going down also. You can rent a machine, a super machine for, well, but you need thousands of dollars to do it. But before that it was millions, but now you may need some dozens of thousands, and maybe in 5 years you will be able to do it with a few hundred, I don't know. So the costs are going down, and it will be, in this way, it will be better for all to create our own systems.
Thank you. We are on conference, but it's still Bratislava Book Festival. So my last question will be about books. Are there any recommendations about some titles about AI or things like that?
Yeah, the thing and is that, and please don't be angry at me, because I am a publisher, so I am not saying this from outside, but whenever a book is published, the very topic it deals with will become obsolete in this area. Because ChatGPT was launched in December, so it's just 6 months. There are no books on ChatGPT available in the market easily. You can find some, but, and I wrote a thesis about large language models. I studied digital humanities after philosophy, and this thesis is completely outdated now. So at the very moment I was defending the thesis, it was outdated. So this area goes so fast that I wouldn't be able to recommend a book about these specific trends in generative AI, but I can recommend you some people. Like I follow many people on the web. For example, if you want a more critical voice, you can follow Timnit Gebru, or she's from Ethiopia, but she lives in the US. She was working in Google and she was fired because she criticized all the challenges that Google was not dealing with. And she's a very strong voice. Also, I think, well, a book that will be soon in the market is the book by Naomi Klein. Naomi Klein will publish a book about AI, about generative AI. It's not ready yet, but I read she will publish it in 3-4 months. So maybe we should pay attention to that because she's always very lucid. And apart from that, you can find many books on the ethics of AI in general, but it's old stuff. Like, for example, weapons of math destruction, math, but like mathematics, not maths. It's a play on words. Like weapons of math destruction. It's a very good book, but it still is from 2016, so it's pretty old right now. And what else? And then there is a whole group of classics that I would recommend. It's all the topic of automation in literature. So, and it's interesting to see that the word robot. Well, maybe it's in Slovak. You have some similar. No, but I know, but as it's so similar, robot. Do you use it in Slovak as well, or? Okay. So it's the same root as Arbeit, I think, in German. So it's and robot. It comes from the play that you must know it, I guess, from Karel Čapek. The first time the word robot was introduced was by a playwright. So culture, art, artificial is always intertwined, and it's very interesting to follow that trend. So always go back to the classics. This is when everything turns obsolete so fast. We should go back to the classics, I guess.
Thank you very much, Octavio, for presentation and also for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ďakujem aj vám. V tomto momente, okrem toho, že ďakujem Octaviovi, tak aj ďakujem aj vám za to, že ste tu s nami boli od úplného rána. Myslím, že väčšina z vás, a že ste s nami strávili niekoľko inšpiratívnych hodín a stretnutí, ktoré veľmi úzko súviseli s knihami, s knižnou kultúrou, s literatúrou. A s tým bude nepochybne súvisieť aj ďalší program Bratislavského knižného festivalu tu v Novej Cvernovke počas nasledujúcich 3 dní. Ak sa náhodou budete dnes večer nudiť, tak vás pozývame na warm-up festivalový do Romerovho domu, kde okrem iného budete môcť zažiť aj stretnutie s autorkou Lanou Bastašič a uvedenie jej knihy Chyť zajaca, ktorú preložila do slovenčiny Milina Svitková. To všetko sa uskutoční od 18. hodiny dnes večer. No a potom od zajtrajšieho popoludnia sa vidíme opäť tu v Novej Cvernovke. Ešte raz veľká vďaka všetkým, veľká vďaka organizátorom BRaK konferencie a ja už len musím vysloviť nádej, že sa tu takto stretneme opäť o rok. Pekný zvyšok dňa.